Member for Kamloops North Thompson.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. The whole time, and this is about this government's actions and this government's decisions around BC Housing and Atira, and the whole time that they've been in government, they've received the 2018 BDO report that they tried to bury that showed that there was serious concerns at Atira. There was a second EY report that came out that showed serious concerns, enough to trigger a forensic audit by EY as well. And now there's this buried third report as well, all pointing to Atira. So what did this government do, Mr. Speaker, as they handled that? They put their hand-appointed board in place of BC Housing. And at the same time, they made sure all their friends and insiders at Atira saw a tripling of their funding. And who were their friends and insiders? This is the judgment of this government, Mr. Speaker. Their hand-picked candidate in the Vancouver-Coachella by-election was on that same board that is already having serious questions raised to this government about the handling of public funds at Atira. They then, much to our surprise, as we peel back the onion, Mr. Speaker, find out that the Forest Minister's spouse is on the board of Atira as well. Talk about friends and insiders at a time that this Premier won't explain how the tripling of funds to an agency under non-stop bad reports is being looked at. Today, we also learned that the government will not be scrutinizing the for-profit property management arm of Atira, a central player in the Premier's BC Housing scandal. No, the Premier's choice to exclude Atira Property Management, or APMI, from his critical review, Mr. Speaker, is deeply troubling. APMI is responsible for managing SRO hotels, such as the Columbia Hotel, the Buchan Hotel, and Burns Block, properties acquired under this Premier's tenure when he was the Housing Minister. APMI also managed the ill-fated Winters Hotel, Mr. Speaker, where faulty sprinklers and empty fire extinguishers contributed to a fatal fire a year ago that claimed 2 lives. But nothing but evasion from this Premier and this government. After numerous concealed reports and cover-ups, why is the Premier not subjecting every single aspect of Atira to a comprehensive financial review? Is it because there's still too many friends and insiders there?
Minister of Housing.
Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker. There's so many things factually incorrect in that member's statement. Again, I don't know where to start. But I will start with the first important piece, which is the Minister of Forests has acted with great integrity in this entire process. He has himself recused himself from any conversation that pertains to Atira, Honourable Speaker. Not only has he done that, he hasn't spoken to me about a single issue since this whole thing has come forward. And that's the type of integrity that we were hoping that the former CEO of BC Housing would have had, Honourable Speaker, because if that had been done, if conflict of interest rules there had been followed, we wouldn't have to have the forensic investigation. We wouldn't have to have the information that we have here. Now, the members across the way know that they also have connections to people on the board of Atira. The leader of the opposition, former colleague, is the chair of Atira board. And so I think it's important to know before we throw rocks, Honourable Speaker, that the issue at the core of this report, Honourable Speaker, the issue at the core of this report, Honourable Speaker, is a former CEO of BC Housing using his power to try to get additional contact, direct awards given to his partner, who is the CEO of Atira. This is where the issue is. That's what's talked about in this report, not once, multiple times, and going at great lengths to hide that relationship and that work, Honourable Speaker. That is where my biggest concern is. We will be taking action. We've already told Atira we will be getting that $1.9 million back. We will be freezing new additional funds that go to them. But at the same time, Honourable Speaker, what's vitally important is that the most vulnerable people that the organization support will continue to get the support they need. Because in the end, Honourable Speaker, that's what should matter most. Not the political back and forth, but the people who need the support the most.
Kamloops North Thompson supplemental.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, the minister likes to talk tough in here, but last I checked, the friends and insiders at the board of Atira keep telling this minister and this Premier to go away. They're going to do whatever they want. They're not changing how they do business because they've done nothing wrong, apparently. And Mr. Speaker, I would also point out to the minister that it's this Premier and this government that is actually in charge, and they're the ones that actually have been approving the money. We're not the decision makers on this side right now. Newsflash, it's your decision making that's in question here as you triple the dollars going to Atira while they've been under a cloud the whole time you've been in government. Mr. Speaker, once again, based on these answers, we're seeing further attempts by the Premier to cover up this BC housing scandal. The damning 2018 report from BDO explicitly warned of the financial mismanagement at both Atira and their fully owned subsidiary APMI. To quote directly from the report, APMI receives 80% of the gross monthly payment received by Atira from BC Housing. 80%, Mr. Speaker. So when the Premier concealed these reports and then tripled the funding to Atira at the same time, 80% of that tripling was funneled to the profit-driven subsidiary APMI. That's this government's decision-making, Mr. Speaker. Yet instead of initiating a thorough and transparent investigation into the group implicated in the fatal Winters Hotel fire, the Premier is shielding this portion from Atira from total scrutiny. Can the Premier tell the victims of the Winters Hotel fire why they aren't entitled to a comprehensive investigation into the finances of Atira and all of its subsidiaries? Hear, hear.
Minister of Housing.
Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker. And there were 2 victims in that fire, and I know that's heavy on everyone's hearts. And I know right now that there is a court case happening. And so I can't comment any more on that matter. But I will say, Honourable Speaker, that it's important for the record to note that during the pandemic, funding for not-for-profits to provide support for the most vulnerable people were increased. There's no, we're not denying that, because that was vitally important, Honourable Speaker. That saved lives. It saved lives for people across this province, Honourable Speaker. We did increase the supports for people because we knew that the most vulnerable were disproportionately facing the impacts of the pandemic. Now, what we didn't do, Honourable Speaker, was direct reward them to one organization. That is at the core of the issue. The issue isn't additional dollars going to support the most vulnerable people. The issue is that when BC Housing got dollars, they gave direct contracts, direct awards to their to one not-for-profit, which had serious
members, please. Minister will continue.
Honourable Speaker, it's important. This is an important point. I mean, this is an important topic. I assume the members want to hear answers. Heckling the entire time when we're having an important conversation does not help this conversation, Honourable Speaker. This is a serious report, and so it's important for members to have the detail. Money gets funded to BC Housing. They make decisions on not-for-profits that can provide that support. Maybe it was different when they were in government. Maybe they directly awarded contracts to not-for-profits. That's not what happens here, Honourable Speaker. Decisions were made. Clearly says in the report that the...
Members, please continue.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. The report lays out clearly, Honourable Speaker, that the CEO of BC Housing, the former CEO of BC Housing, went out of his way to direct staff to direct reward contracts to his spouse's not-for-profit. That is at the core of the issue here. The issue isn't additional dollars going to helping the most vulnerable people. I know members across both sides supported additional dollars to go to support the most vulnerable. What we didn't support, Honourable Speaker, is decisions being made without procurement processes, going directly to the CEO's partner. We all agree that that is not appropriate behavior, and that's why we released that report.